Part 14. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 131. Chapter 131 Chapter 131 Does she still like me? I've already done it. I'm not afraid of her hating me. Nothing you say now can change this fact. And Nangsuan put his forehead with one hand. He said such words sincerely, but in exchange for Fujinexiu's words, he almost made him angry to death. Even though he knew that Fujinexiu loved Zhang Xiaoxiao very much and understood why he did this, he originally planned to do it when Zhang Xiaoxiao was 18 years old, but who knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao ran away, which was the fuse that angered Fujinexiu. Although Nangsuan didn't have a very good understanding of Fujinexiu's temperament, he had an approximate or 90% understanding of it. No matter how stable he is about anything, when facing Zhang Xiaoxi alone, all his reason and self-control will turn into nothing. He will act based on the most powerful desire deep in his heart, or act impulsively. The reckless kind. From the moment Zhang Xiao entered his household register, Zhang Xiao became his private property. If others took a peek, it would challenge his endurance. What's more, Zhang Shishi wanted to leave him. He must have desperately wanted to keep Zhang Shishi by his side, so he would be so reckless. And Nangsuan sighed helplessly in his heart and continued talking on the phone. Boss, Xiaoxi, you must give me good advice and guidance. I think I still liked you when I was young. Fujinexiu's cold eyes lit up with light, and his tone was as usual, she still likes me. And Nangsuan. Zhang Xiao struggled to get out of bed to eat. The soreness of Yu Yao was obvious. He poked the rice in the bowl angrily and cursed Fujinexiu for countless times in his heart. He was a bird? Beast, perverted. I was really harmonized. I thought I had escaped the previous disaster, but I didn't expect that I still didn't escape. She had been single for many years and had not had a proper relationship yet, so she skipped the step of falling in love and went straight to a home run. It's all the fault of that old man Fujinexiu. Zhang Xiaoxi was really frustrated, aggrieved, angry, and hated the boss. In her heart, she was still a very traditional girl. She hoped that her first time could be with her beloved, but Fujinexiu did not love him, and he also has someone he loves. The more Zhang Xiaoxi thought about it, the more he felt aggrieved. A layer of mist appeared in his pearl-like eyes. He was such an ordinary person. Why should he suffer this? When he thought of seeing Fujinexiu later, Zhang Xiaoxi felt in his heart just a million rejections, his eyes fell on the window-sill, and his black eyes rolled. After Fujinexiu finished talking to Nangsuan on the phone, he glanced at the time on his phone. 1 hour later, he walked to the door of Zhang Xiaoxiu's room with his long legs. He held his long, slender hand on the doorknob and was about to open the room in the next second. The door opened, but thinking of Nangsuan's words, he stopped his next action. Let go of the doorknob, raise your hand, and knock on the door. Our. Fujinexiu knocked on the door for a while, and called her for a while. No one responded for a long time. His cold eyes darkened, and he quickly changed the position of his hand to put it on the doorknob, and turned it open. The door opened, and cold eyes scanned the entire room like precision instruments. The room still had the big white bed, with a touch of red on the bed, but there was no one in the room. Stepping into the door, he quickly opened the only wardrobe in the room. The empty wardrobe, the empty room. Fujinexiu's face suddenly darkened, and he disappeared into the room like the wind without even thinking. Zhang Xiaoxiao, who was hiding on the windowsill, heard the door slamming and being closed. His tightened heart relaxed and he muttered softly, I let you bully me. I will start to sweeten things up later. In fact, I already liked the big guy a little bit when I was young. Otherwise, if she was harmonized by the big guy, her reaction would not be just a little bit of resentment, but she just didn't notice it. I recommend the blocked chapters. I have created a group, I will post the blocked chapters in the group, hee. Friends who want to read can add it, 600408098. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 132. Chapter 132. Chapter 132. Hours, weren't you found by Uncle Fu Wu? Zhang Xiaoxiao rolled into the room with trembling thighs, picked up new clothes and slipped into the bathroom, filling the bathtub with water. Looking at himself in the mirror without a patch of good skin, his little face turned red, perverted, a bird. Bye. When she thought back to last night, her mind and body felt not only pain, but also pain. Ruchen, Chu family. Chu Hanyu and Chen Baiking spent a day looking for information. When they saw Zhang Xiaoxiao squatting on the roadside, he was surprised and walked over in a few steps. Xiaoxiao, where have you been these days? Zhang Xiao stood up, rubbed his numb legs, and looked at Chu Hanyu pitifully. Hanyu, can you take me in for 2 days? Sure. Chu Hanyu suppressed the countless questions in his mind and pulled Zhang Xiaoxi into his house without thinking. Nayuniu, take the bag. Chen Baiking handed her bag helplessly. He glanced at Zhang Xiaoxi from the corner of his eye, and a flash of light quickly flashed through his narrow eyes under the lenses. Chu Hanyu picked up his bag and waved to the man. Chen Baiking, see you next time. Chu Hanyu took Zhang Xiaoxi to his room, put 2 bottles of yogurt on the coffee table, sat cross-legged on the edge of the bed, frowned at Zhang Xiaoxi, and began to question him. Xiao, where did you go on your birthday? Zhang Xiao opened the yogurt, took a sip, and organized the words in his mind. Seeing her silence, Chu Hanyu continued to speak. Child, did you know that you were away at the birthday party? Uncle Fu thought I had conspired with you and almost ate me alive. In the past few days since you left, and Xiaoxian has called me every day to ask me if I know where you have been. Xiao, even if you want to leave, you still have to say goodbye to me. You are not a friend enough. I have been worried about you these days. Chu Hanyu was really worried about Zhang Xiaoxiao. She was worried that if she was caught by Uncle Fu Wu, she would be severely punished. She was worried that she would have no money and live on the street. Zhang Xiao pursed his lips and looked at Chu Hanyu with emotion in his clear eyes. In this book, apart from the boss, the person he has spent the longest time with is Chu Hanyu, even though he is Bai Yueguang's best friend. But now when I hear and see the concern in her eyes and mouth, I am still very moved, just like a person meeting a relative in a foreign country. Chu Hanyu saw Zhang Xiaoxi's expression change, his IQ suddenly exploded, and he said in a deep voice, Xiaoxi, you weren't found by Uncle Fu Wu, were you? Zhangxi. So, Uncle Fu Wu attacked you. Zhangxi. Chu Hanyu took a deep breath and stared at Zhang Xiaoxi. When you were a child, you shouldn't have resisted Uncle Fu Wu. When Uncle Fu Wu confessed to you, I guessed that Uncle Fu would attack you. Your resistance would only angry Uncle Fu. Zhangxi. When I was young, did you know? I knew Uncle Fu Wu liked you a long time ago, because the way Uncle Fu looked at you was completely different from the way he looked at other people. I didn't notice it before, but when I fell in love with An Xiaoxian, then I understood that look. I thought Uncle Fu Wu would give you time to slowly accept him, but I didn't expect you to anger him anyway. Little girl, do you still remember the day of your 16th birthday? Zhang Xiao. She only received Bai Yueguang's memory, she didn't know the rest. Push the group number again, interested readers can enter, 600408098. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 133. Chapter 133. Chapter 133 is not hard for you to accept. What did the boss do when Bai Yueguang was 16? Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Chu Hanyu in confusion. Chu Hanyu looked at Zhang Xiaoxi's confused expression, pursed her lips, and continued, Xiaoxiao, on your 16th birthday, we made an appointment to go see the meteor shower together. I didn't see you, so go to the room. I looked for you inside and saw Uncle Fu kissing your lips very reverently. Piety is like a rare treasure. Zhang Shi felt that her blood circulation was accelerating, her little face felt hot, and her heart was beating wildly. Although she had never been in love, she still read a lot of romance novels, so naturally she also liked affectionate and domineering ones. The male protagonist, but now she is just an outsider occupying someone else's body. In Yu Cheng, Fu Jianxiu doesn't like her, but Bai Yueguang. I quietly returned from country M because I thought that the boss would never expect that I would return to Ruchen. I was really sad and wanted to find someone to talk to. The first person I thought of was Chu Hanyu. Xiao, actually, have you ever thought that Uncle Fu Wu's love for you is not so hard for you to accept? When Zhang Xiao looked up at her in confusion, Chu Hanyu had already sharply seen the traces on her neck. Trace. She didn't know whether Bai Yueguang could accept it, but she really couldn't accept it. To her, the boss was a person who was more familiar than a stranger. He did the most intimate things without any feelings. She just couldn't accept it from the bottom of her heart. When Zhang Xiao thought about the violence committed by the boss last night, tears of grievance rolled down the corners of his eyes, and his voice choked up, Hanyu, you don't even know, how cruel, the fifth uncle. Chu Hanyu was startled when he saw her crying. He stood up from the bed, sat next to Zhang Xiao, and hugged her. Don't be afraid, Xiao. I'm here and I will always be with you. Zhang Xiao leaned on Chu Hanyu's shoulder and cried sadly. She was really helpless, especially after being harmonized by the boss. She was so helpless that she didn't know what to do. The boss was so strong against Bai Yueguang Zhanyugu, she is a minor supporting character who was supposed to end in 3 chapters. Now that the heroine has appeared, she really doesn't know what the ending will be like. She is confused and helpless. Zhang Xiao cried on Chu Hanyu's shoulder for a while before his mood stabilized. Chu Hanyu looked at Zhang Xiaoxi's red and swollen eyes with sadness. He felt sorry for Zhang Xiaoxi and sympathized with Fu Jianxiu. He could obviously take his time, so why rush for quick success? I'm afraid it would be even more difficult for Xiaoxi to accept him now. There was a sudden knock on the door. Zhang Xiao was like a frightened little rabbit, looking at the door in fright, fearful in his heart that the boss was coming to find him. Chu Hanyu patted Zhang Xiaoxi's shoulder and said, Who? Miss Madam asked me to bring you some snacks and fruits, the servant answered through the door. Chu Hanyu comforted Zhang Xiao with her eyes. She ran to open the door, took the snacks and fruits, and closed the door. When she closed the door, she didn't forget to tell the servant, you don't need to ask me to have dinner tonight. I'll follow you Chen biking 8 outside. Okay, miss, the servant replied and left. Chu Hanyu put the fruits and snacks on the coffee table. As soon as he handed the snacks to Zhang Xiaoxi, his cell phone rang. Nayuniu, is Xiao at your place? And Nangxuan felt a headache when he looked at the cold person next to him. He knew that Chu Hanyu was there when he was young, but he still wanted to make him call. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 134. Chapter 134. Chapter 134. What should I do with you? Chu Hanyu glanced at the person sitting next to him, his 2 beautiful eyebrows lightly frowning together. Zhang Shishi, who had a pale face, naturally did not tell the truth. Xiao, you are not here with me, and Xiaoxian, you don't know that I am. Have you been looking for hours for several days? And Nangxuan was sweating coldly as he looked at the gloomy person next to him. Listening to the lies on the phone with a headache, he had no choice but to use some strategy. Tell me, My grandpa knew that she was coming back and asked her if she wanted to go back to her old house. Chu Hanyu asked Zhang Xiao almost subconsciously, "Xiao Xiao, do you want to go back?" "No," Zhang Shi also blurted out. When An Nangxuan heard Zhang Xiaoxi's voice, the corner of his mouth curled up. The reaction of the two brats after so many years was still so cute. "Okay, I know you are with Xiaoxi. Tell her to go home after she adjusts, otherwise Uncle Fu will come directly to pick someone up." Chu Hanyu. Zhang Shi. And Nangxuan hung up the phone and gave someone a reassuring look. "Boss, give her some time and she will accept it. You can let her stay at Niuniu's house for a few days now." Fu Chenxiao silently lit a cigarette and leaned on the edge of the desk. The rising smoke slowly enveloped his handsome face, giving people a feeling of loneliness. And Nangxuan also lit up a cigarette and started smoking with him. Looking at the darkness in Fu Chenxiao's eyes and the green stubble on his jaw, he was still worried. Zhang Xiaoxiao first fled from the country to abroad, and then fled back to the country from abroad, which made Fu Chenxiao have to worry a lot about finding someone. Zhang Xiao had the help of his old man when he fled from the country. He took a helicopter to go out. The old man and the others helped to conceal all his whereabouts. She fled back to China from abroad. First she hid on her windowsill, and then escaped all surveillance around the villa. She even bought air tickets to several countries. Knowing that she had returned to China, she thought she might go to her old house to find someone. No one was at the old house, and Fu Yan stopped her and asked about it. If it hadn't been for that guy Chen Biking's call, they would probably still be looking for someone in Ruchin. Thinking of Chu Hanyu being with that guy recently, and Nangxuan's eyebrows furrowed and he felt extremely depressed. "When I thought about what Chen Biking said, I felt a fire in my heart. Why should the boss not intervene in the affairs of the three of them in the future?" The boss actually agreed. And Nangxuan finished smoking a cigarette in frustration, lit another one, and said, "Boss, you still have to find someone to guide you when you are young." Fu Chenxiao squinted his eyes and looked out the window. "Who do you think is the most suitable?" And Nangxuan filtered the friends around Chu Hanyu. "Of course, Chu Hanyu is the most suitable female friend, but the little girl does not necessarily have to help the boss speak, but apart from Chu Hanyu, the only one left, it seems that he is the only one who has a good relationship with Zhang Xiao. Now that the boss has done something like that, it is really weird for him to go, it is simply too difficult. It's 1 o'clock in the middle of the night at Chu's house. Zhang Xiao couldn't sleep and stood up and stood outside the window looking at the moonlight, his eyes confused as he thought about how he should go on. Outside the Chu family villa, a black Bentley was hidden in the dark night. In the car, Fu Chenxiao's face was stern and profound. His deep and cold eyes were motionless as he looked at someone standing on the windowsill and murmured, "When I was young, my fifth uncle should. What should I do with you?" End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 135. Chapter 135. Chapter 135. I don't want to go back. Fu Chenxiao looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao. The car door was opened softly, and Luo Yi was holding rice in his hand. "Fifth master, it's already midnight, you'd better eat something." She had been standing there for a full 2 hours. Luo Yi. Of course he knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao had been standing there for 2 hours. He still didn't know what happened to the fifth master and the young lady. He only knew that he was nervous all the time in the past few days. Tensing, fifth master has been having a terrible temper lately. "Fifth master, why don't you just go in and pick up the young lady?" Luo Yi asked. By the time Luo Yi finished asking, the car fell into silence again. It took a long time before Fu Chenxiao's tired voice spoke up, "I'm still losing my temper. Now is not the time." "Luo Yi, the little lady's temper has been extremely bad lately. After running away from home, he still dared to get angry with the fifth master and not go home. If it had been before, the fifth master would have cleaned up and educated the people. The place is still like it is now. Instead of arresting people, he is still waiting here. It's simply so magical. Fifth master, what is the little lady so angry about? Luo Yi was really curious. Silence, deathly immersion. Luo Yi felt that after he finished asking the question, the aura of the fifth master became a little permeable. Luo Yi swallowed his throat with numbness. Fifth master, actually I'm not that. With the word curious still in his throat, Luo Yi saw his fifth master's body move violently, and then there was the sound of the car door opening. When he fully reacted, he only saw a black shadow disappearing into the night. Chu's living room. Du Xiangfen looked at Fu Chenxiu, who came to visit him in the middle of the night, with a confused look on his face, but still greeted him with a smile. Chenxiu, what's the matter with coming so late? Fu Chenxiu said calmly, Aunt Du, I am here to see her. Can you help me call her? Xiao Xiao, at my house, is she back? Du Xiangfen looked at Fu Chenxiu in confusion. She had been at home all day today and had not seen Zhang Xiao come. Her memory still lingered on when Chu Hanyu told her that Zhang Xiao had run away from home. There. Madam, I'm in the young lady's room. She came this afternoon. The person who spoke in Du Xiangfen's ear was the servant who was delivering fruit today. Du Xiangfen maintained a smile on her face and said, Chenxiu, it's so late and the two little girls are probably asleep. Why don't you also rest in the guest room and wait until you can take me back tomorrow? She wasn't asleep yet. I saw her almost falling off the windowsill. Fu Chenxiu's voice was deep, with a worried tone in it. Du Xiangfen said awkwardly, Chenxiu, please wait here, I'll call someone for you. Sorry to trouble you, Aunt Du. No trouble. Du Xiangfen also went up to the second floor with a lot of questions. She opened the door with the key without knocking and saw two little girls drinking red wine there and looking at the red wine on the ground. Bottle, it seemed that he had drunk a lot, and he suddenly had a headache. When I was young, Nayuniu, do you know how dangerous it is for you two to stand on the balcony drinking? Come in. Chu Hanyu was so drunk that she heard her mother's voice in a daze. She walked over happily and drunkenly, holding Du Xiangfen in her arms. Mom, will you come and drink with us? Du Xiangfen. Aunt Du, I want to hug you too. Zhang Shi also ran over drunkenly and hugged Du Xiangfen. Du Xiangfen looked at the two drunkards and said helplessly, when I was young, your fifth uncle came to take you home. I don't want to go back, I don't want my fifth uncle. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 136. Chapter 136. Chapter 136. I want him to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Zhang Xiao was crying and fussing while hugging Du Xiangfen. I don't want to go back, I don't want Uncle Wu, I hate him. Xiao Xiao, don't be afraid. I'm still here, and I won't let Uncle Fu take you away. Chu Hanyu hugged Zhang Xiao and said boldly. Hanyu, you are the best, I want to live with you forever, I want to leave my fifth uncle, I want him to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. You two little girls, stop talking. Du Xiangfen worriedly said to the two drunkards. I'm going to say, I hate, Uncle Wu, I hate him. I also hate, Xiaoxian. Woo woo woo. The two hugged each other, crying and howling. Du Xiangfen had a headache from the noise, and was about to go find two servants for help. As soon as she turned around, she saw Fu Chenxiu's eyes were cold and sharp, staring at Zhang Xiaoxi like a sharp sword, and his whole body was exuding a chilling cold air. I don't know how long he stood there. Did he hear the words of the two drunk girls? Du Xiangfen paused and became worried. Among so many juniors, the one who is most mysterious and has the most ruthless methods is Fujinek Xiu. Now the words of the two little girls when they were drunk were a bit bold, so she had to protect her words. Chenqiu, both girls are drunk, how about you? When Zhang Xiaoxiao heard the word Chenqiu, he reacted instinctively and blurted out the unhappiness in his heart, I hate Uncle Wu, I don't want to see Uncle Wu. Du Xiangfen. Fu Chenxiu's eyelids were half drooped, and his long black soft eyelashes covered the burning fire in his pupils. He walked to Zhang Xiaoxi in 2 or 3 steps, bent down slightly, and stretched out his hand to lift the drunken man from the ground, his voice terrifyingly cold. Hate me? Don't want to see me? You want me to be a bachelor for the rest of my life? You still want to leave me? Zhang Shi, are you sure? Zhang Xiao was like a doll without bones. He could only stand firm because of Fu Chenxiu's arms. He tried his best to look at Fu Chenxiu's tense and sinister profile with hazy eyes. He frowned hard with 2 delicate brows and raised his head. He opened his mouth and bit down his resolute jawline. He bit hard for 2 minutes, and finally said in disgust, it's so bad, my tooth hurts. Fu Chenxiu acted as if he didn't feel anything. His eyebrows were lowered and his face was sullen. He raised his spirits and directly carried the person on his shoulders. He said to Du Xiangfen, Aunt Du, come visit me when you are free in the future. Okay, Du Xiangfen was completely stunned and watched Fu Chenxiu leave. Fu Chenxiu carried Zhang Xiaoxi and walked to his Bentley. Besides Luo Yi, there was one more person in the Bentley. And Nangxuan was sitting in the car with messy hair. When he saw Zhang Xiaoxi who was drunk, he quickly got out of the way. Move her to a place, boss, didn't you promise me to let Xiao Xiao calm down for 2 days? Fu Chenxiu's face was as dark as the night, and he sneered, calm down for 2 days. If you calm down for 2 days, this girl will go to heaven. And Nangxuan suddenly became irrational after just a few hours. Didn't he say he would take his time, so why did he get angry again? Boss, I was drunk when I was young. Everything I said and did was out of my drunken mind, not awakened, Nangxuan said defensively. Get out of the car, Leng Bang Bang faced in Nangxuan with a commanding voice, with anger burning in his dark eyes. Thank you, Shen Menying, for the reward. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 137. Chapter 137. Chapter 137. Emotional intelligence is eaten up by IQ. Boss, Xiao Xiao has just experienced something that is difficult for her to accept. It is normal to drink some wine and talk drunkenly. You have to let this child accept it, and Nangxuan felt sorry for Zhang Xiao and naturally protected her. Do you want me to do it or get out of here? Fu Chenxiu stared at Nangxuan sharply. And Nangxuan's scalp tightened and he immediately got out of the car. You can't blame him for being a coward, it's because he has been scared of being beaten by Fu Chenxiu since he was a child. If he keeps talking, he will really take action. Luo Yi got off the car at the same time as Nangxuan got off the car. Fu Chenxiu got into the car, the door was slammed shut, and the car disappeared in front of them like a sharp sword. Luo Yi looked at Nangxuan in confusion. Second master, fifth master, what's going on? And Nangxuan put his hands in the pockets of his pants and looked at the place where Fu Chenxiu disappeared with a sad face. You have to report to me any news about your fifth master recently, especially your fifth master and his childhood. Luo Yi still didn't understand what happened, and was completely confused. No, the second master's little miss was not punished by the fifth master once or twice. What are you worried about? And Nangxuan slapped Luo Yi on the head. How did you become a secretary? How did you become the first secretary if you can't even see the changes in the boss? Of course it depends on ability, Luo Yi answered confidently. And Nangxuan. Luo Yi couldn't stand it when his ability was questioned. Second master, you have seen my ability to do things. Now that you question me like this, won't your conscience hurt? Luo Yi felt extremely aggrieved. Thinking about it, his hairline has receded a lot over the years, and his hair is getting grayer day by day. He is a good young man, but at this age he still can't find a partner, and his ability is still there. Being questioned was simply an insult to him. And Nangxuan is still aggrieved. Okay, don't look at me with that aggrieved look of yours. Your ability to do things is fine. Now tell me what's going on with your fifth master. Luo Yi said, Second master, this is something that can be seen with the naked eye. The young lady ran away from home, was very drunk, and was unwilling to go home. The fifth master will definitely go home to take care of the young lady. You can only see it. These, and Nangxuan asked with raised eyebrows. Is there anything else? Luo Yi's head was racing and he began to think about whether he had missed something. I remembered that some time ago, the second master and the fifth master had a project that was ruined by people from the project department. Could it be that the fifth master was unhappy because of this and then blamed it on the young lady? Luo Yi thought about it. Go, this is the only thing that can make Fujin Xiu unhappy recently. And Nangxuan finally understands why a good older young man is still single until now. His emotional intelligence is being eroded by his IQ. What do you think of the relationship between you and your fifth master when you were young? And Nangxuan tried to give him some advice. Luo Yi answered without thinking at all, no one in Ruchin can compare to the fifth master's love for the young lady. The clothes the young lady wore for her birthday party were all designed by the fifth master himself, and the necklace was designed by the fifth master himself. I went abroad to take pictures. Of course their relationship is good, but the little lady seems to be a little different after the marriage proposal. Why is it different? And Nangxuan found that this man could still be saved. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 138. Chapter 138. Chapter 138. This kind of love is between a man and a woman. The little miss seems to be hiding from the fifth master, always thinking about running away from home, and the fifth master seems to be getting more and more strict with the little miss. Luo Yi said this because he felt that Zhang Xiaoxiao had arrived. It's okay to fall in love at an early age, but Master Wu has to take care of even falling in love, which is a bit strict. And Nangxuan was satisfied with his answer and continued to remind him, your fifth master was different when he was young. Second master, I know it's different, but can you help me answer my questions directly? Luo Yi felt that his brain cells were almost dead, and he still couldn't guess what he wanted to say. And Nangxuan glanced at him speechlessly, your fifth master likes to be young. My fifth master likes to be young. Luo Yi repeated the sentence in his mouth. When he repeated it for the second time, Luo Yi took a deep breath. His eyes were as big as a cow's. He was extremely shocked. His mouth was so wide that he could stuff an egg into it. Second master, I didn't, listen, wrong. You heard that right, and Nangxuan answered him affirmatively. Luo Yi thought it was incredible that the fifth master actually liked the young lady. This kind of liking was not that kind of liking, but the kind of love between a man and a woman. Oh my God. Luo Yi feels that his IQ is not enough, the fifth master and the young lady. And Nangxuan looked at his face with various expressions and sighed lightly. Even Luo Yi had this expression. If Mr. Fu knew about it, he didn't know if he would be able to bear it. In addition to Mr. Fu, there would also be strange looks from the public. Can they bear it? Second master, you are kidding me too much. It is impossible for the fifth master and the young lady. Everyone in Ruchin knows that the young lady was raised by the fifth master and is no different from his daughter. If they are together, it is not chaos. Seniority. What Luo Yi actually wants to say is chaos. Lun, I felt that the wording was inappropriate, so I changed it to another word. And Nangxuan glanced at Luo Yi with cold eyes and said in a cold voice, Luo Yi, Everyone in Ruchin knows that I have no blood relationship with the boss when I was young. Even if they are together, it does not violate moral ethics. But the fifth master is so much older than the little lady, the little miss may not necessarily like the fifth master. Luo Yi was shocked, not that it was completely unacceptable. What he was worried about now was that Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't accept it. Fu Chenxiao is completely a relative to Zhang Xiaoxiao. He is still a relative whom he relies on and admires. Now that a relative has turned into a lover, I am afraid that this transformation will not take as simple as 2 or 3 days. So what if you are so much older? And Nangxuan twitched the corners of his lips and said coldly, how do you know you won't like the boss when you are young? Luo Yi, if you were not raised by your fifth master when you were young, would you have such thoughts? Don't you think your fifth master and your childhood are a perfect match? They are a perfect match for each other. Luo Yi pursed his lips. He admitted that if it weren't for that relationship, Zhang Xiaoxiao and Fu Chenxiao were indeed very compatible, regardless of their appearance or other aspects, but now they have that relationship. Second master, I didn't mean that, I'm just worried about fifth master. Luo Yi held back for a long time before saying this. What you are worried about is also what I am worried about. And Nangxuan took a puff of cigarette and expressed his sadness. The eyes of the world may be a sharp sword that hurts others in the end. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 139. Chapter 139. Chapter 139. You lied to me. Zhang Xiao was carried back to the room from the car by Fu Chenxiao, and with a rough shake, he fell onto the bed. Boom. There was still a muffled sound. Zhang Xiaoxiao subconsciously touched his head because of the pain, and said pitifully, it hurts. Fu Chenxiao looked at her with a gloomy face, his eyebrows were knitted into a knot, and his voice was as cold as ice. Does it hurt? It hurts, Zhang Xiaoxiao replied drunkenly. Fu Chenxiao knelt down and stroked the back of her head with his warm palms. He placed the small hand he held in his left hand on his heart and frowned deeply. When I was little, Uncle Wu's heart also hurt a lot, did you know? Zhang Xiao is now a drunkard, his mind is basically on the verge of panic. He stared at Fu Chenxiao with blurred eyes and pouted his mouth. You lied to me, my fifth uncle is in good health. Fu Chenxiao's dark eyes were full of tenderness. When I was young, did you know that Uncle Wu was in pain because of your heart? Zhang Xiaojuan's eyebrows were wrinkled, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, her little face was full of doubts, her head was shaking, and it took a while before she said, does it hurt? It hurts, please listen. Fu Chenxiao pressed Zhang Xiaoxi's head to his heart. Zhang Xiao leaned against him, listening to the powerful beating of his heart, and pushed him away dissatisfied. His instinct as a doctor was still there, and he frowned and pierced him. You lied to me, your heart beats powerfully, he doesn't look sick at all, liar. Fu Chenxiao controlled her head and continued to place it on his heart. His voice was low and hoarse. When I was young, Uncle Wu's heart really hurt. Please listen carefully. Zhang Xiao struggled to move. Liar. Uncle Wu didn't lie to you. When you said you wanted to leave Uncle Wu, hated Uncle Wu, and didn't want to see Uncle Wu's heart ached like a knife. Fu Chenxiao rested his chin on Zhang Xiaoxi's shoulder. Said affectionately. When Zhang Xiao heard what he said, he immediately became motionless, as if he was fixed. His heart twitched hard. His little hands tightly grasped the corners of Fu Chenxiao's clothes. Tears overflowed from the corners of his eyes, and there was a cry in his voice, 5 Uncle, I'm not worthy. Fu Chenxiao's pupils shrank, and his whole body was shaken. His hand holding Zhang Shishi tightened, and his voice trembled, it's worth it, as long as it's worth everything you have. The tears that fell from the corners of Zhang Xiaoxiu's eyes fell on Fu Chenxiu's shoulders. Uncle Wu, I will feel distressed if you do this. I feel distressed and distressed. Do you have the heart to make me feel distressed? Uncle Wu can't bear to make you feel distressed. Fu Chenxiu lightly touched the corners of Zhang Shishi's lips and held her cheeks with both hands. The distance between the two was 0. Shishi, you're back, right? You wouldn't know it if you were here. You left Uncle Wu, right? Fifth uncle, don't be like this. Only when you are good can I feel at ease. How can I feel at ease if you act like this? Zhang Xiaoxiao also kissed Fu Chenxiu back, with sadness in his eyes. Fu Chenxiu was afraid that she would disappear. He held her and did not touch her. He was so cautious in everything, and said in a hoarse voice, I don't want you to feel at ease, and I don't want you to leave. Zhang Xiao pushed him helplessly. Uncle Wu. Fu Chenxiu trapped Zhang Xiaoxiao within his own area, and slowly and gently stopped touching him and her. Then the two of them fell into bed, and everything was so natural. Different from the previous time, this time Fu Chen used all his gentleness in Xiu. Uncle Wu started flirting. Ha ha ha, I received lots of recommendations, bookmarks, and book reviews. Ha ha ha. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 140. Chapter 140. Chapter 140. Let's talk. Zhang Xiao woke up dizzy. He opened his eyes suddenly and closed them due to the dazzling eyes. He slowly opened them to adapt to the strong light. Slowly he woke up from his dazed state, and his brain started to work again. He raised his hand and knocked on his head. He opened his big eyes and glanced at the surrounding environment. He trembled all over and stood up instinctively. As soon as he moved, he realized that his moon was about to be fixed by a strong arm. Zhang Shi turned his head stiffly, but he still had the same handsome face. Zhang Xiaoxiu's head was on hold. Why did he return to Nangzi courtyard again, with the boss lying next to him? Shouldn't he be at Chu Hanyu's house? Did the boss figure out his whereabouts so quickly? Zhang Xiao's little face was wrinkled together, and she just felt a headache. Could it be that she couldn't escape the clutches of the boss in the book? When Zhang Xiaoxi fell into deep distress, Yu Yao's arms tightened slightly. Someone who had his eyes closed stared at Zhang Xiaoxi coldly for a while, and a flash of emotion quickly flashed through his dark eyes. Are you awake? Zhang Xiao, when you wake up, let's talk. Zhang Xiao. The boss said he wanted to talk. Is it necessary to talk? He doesn't have the final say in everything, she has the right to speak. Fu Chenxiu frowned slightly. He didn't miss the slightest expression on Zhang Xiaoxiu's face. Although a certain woman didn't say anything, her face was full of rejection, which made his face darken. Since you don't want to talk about it, let's talk about your running away from home. Fu Chenxiu's mood changed and he began to settle accounts. Zhang Xiao was immediately frightened and blurted out, talk, let's talk about Uncle Wu. Fu Chenxiu narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Xiaoxi gently. Xiao, Uncle Wu knows that it is still difficult for you to accept the changes in our relationship, but Uncle Wu hopes that you will not reject Uncle Wu from the beginning. Can you give Uncle Wu a chance? Zhang Xiaoxiu's eyes widened and she looked at the big boss with a look of disbelief. She thought the big boss would deal with her, but she didn't expect that he would say such things, so naturally he would be there. Fu Chenxiu pursed his thin lips and saw that she fell into silence. He stretched out his hand to touch her face and said softly, Uncle Wu will give you a chance to accept it slowly, but if you run away, Uncle Wu will really imprison you. Get up, so don't challenge Uncle Wu's patience, you know. Fu Chenxiu's last sentence was very serious and overbearing. Zhang Xiao was dissatisfied with the boss being so domineering, and muttered a few words in a low voice. She's not running away, she's just going to the country to study, to relax, and then come back to stay at a friend's house for a night. This is normal. Hearing her murmur, Fu Jianxiao's handsome face suddenly darkened. Zhang Xiaoxiao, do you mean you still want to run away? That's not called running, Zhang Xiaoxiao choked. Fu Jianxiao held Yu Yao's hand harder on her, and stared at Zhang Xiaoxi with cold eyes. Yu Yao's chest rose and fell violently, and he was angry. How dare you? My grandfather agreed to study abroad, so that doesn't mean I ran away. Why are you angry? And you did that to me and you didn't allow me to go out and relax. Can I talk to my best friend? You say you should give me time? Do you have the attitude of giving time now? Before Fu Jianxiao could say anything else, Zhang Xiaoxiao started to confront him with wide eyes. End of this chapter.